Stop eating these vegetables right now. I know what you're thinking, vegetables are supposed to be healthy, right? Well, doctors are finding out that some of the most common vegetables sitting in your fridge could be quietly increasing your stroke risk without you even knowing it. And the worst part? You probably ate one of them today. Look, I get it. Your whole life you've been told to eat your vegetables. Your parents said it, your doctor says it, every health expert on TV says it. But here's what nobody's talking about. Not all vegetables are created equal, especially when it comes to stroke risk. Recent medical research has uncovered something that's making doctors completely rethink their advice. And before you click away thinking this is just another health scare, stick with me because I'm going to show you exactly which vegetables are the problem, why they're dangerous, and most importantly, what you can do about it starting today. If this information is already making you rethink what's in your kitchen right now, hit that like button. It helps me reach more people who need to hear this potentially life-saving message. The problem. Here's the thing about strokes that makes this so serious. Every year, nearly 800,000 people in the United States have a stroke. That's one person every 40 seconds. And while we know the usual suspects like high blood pressure, smoking, and lack of exercise play a role, there's a hidden factor that's been flying under the radar. The vegetables we eat every single day. Now you might be confused. How can vegetables be bad for you? Well, it's not that simple. The issue isn't the vegetables themselves in most cases, it's what happens to them, how we prepare them, or specific compounds they contain that interact badly with certain health conditions or medications that many people over 60 are taking. And because nobody's really talking about this, millions of people are unknowingly putting themselves at risk every time they sit down for what they think is a healthy meal. The scariest part is that stroke risk doesn't build up slowly over decades like you might think. Some of these vegetables can affect your blood in ways that increase clotting risk or spike your blood pressure within hours. That's why doctors are calling this an overnight risk. You could eat one of these vegetables at dinner and wake up with a significantly higher chance of having a stroke the very next day. Vegetable number 1, pickled vegetables. Let's start with something that might surprise you. Pickled vegetables. Yeah, those pickles, sauerkraut, kimchi, and pickled beets that everyone thinks are so good for gut health. Here's the problem. The pickling process requires massive amounts of salt. We're talking about sodium levels that can reach 800 to 1,500 milligrams per serving. To put that in perspective, the American Heart Association recommends no more than 1,500 milligrams of sodium per day total. You could hit that limit with just 2 servings of pickled vegetables. Why does this matter for stroke risk? When you consume high amounts of sodium, it causes your body to retain water. This increases blood volume, which in turn raises blood pressure. High blood pressure is the #1 risk factor for stroke, responsible for about half of all strokes. Studies have shown that people who regularly consume high-sodium foods have a 23% higher risk of stroke compared to those who keep their sodium intake low. And here's what makes pickled vegetables particularly dangerous. People don't think of them as high-sodium foods. You might be carefully watching your salt shaker, avoiding chips and processed meats, but then eating pickles as a healthy snack without realizing you're flooding your system with sodium. Drop a comment below and let me know, are pickled vegetables a regular part of your diet? I'm curious how many of you had no idea about the sodium levels hiding in there. Vegetable number 2, canned vegetables. Now, I know canned vegetables are convenient and last forever in your pantry, but they come with a serious hidden danger. Most canned vegetables are packed in brine, that's salt water, to preserve them. A single cup of canned green beans can contain over 400 milligrams of sodium. Canned corn? Even worse at around 500 milligrams per cup. And if you're eating canned soup with vegetables, you could be getting over 1,000 milligrams in just one bowl. But sodium isn't the only issue with canned vegetables. Many cans are still lined with bisphenol A or BPA, a chemical that can leach into the food. Research has linked BPA exposure to increased blood pressure and inflammation in blood vessels, which are both major stroke risk factors. A study published in the Journal of Hypertension found that people who consumed canned foods regularly had significantly higher blood pressure readings compared to those who ate fresh or frozen vegetables. The solution here is simple but not always easy. Choose fresh or frozen vegetables whenever possible. If you must buy canned, look for labels that say no salt added and BPA free. And always rinse canned vegetables under cold water for at least 30 seconds. This can reduce the sodium content by up to 40%. Vegetable number 3, fried vegetables. Now, this one might seem obvious, but it needs to be said because it's so common. Fried vegetables, think onion rings, fried okra, tempura vegetables, even those crispy fried green beans you get at restaurants. When you deep fry vegetables, you're turning something healthy into something that's essentially a stroke bomb. Here's what happens. Frying vegetables in oil causes them to absorb massive amounts of fat. A medium order of fried onion rings can contain over 400 calories and 20 grams of fat, most of it unhealthy saturated and trans fats. These fats directly contribute to the buildup of plaque in your arteries, a condition called atherosclerosis. When plaque builds up in the arteries leading to your brain, it restricts blood flow. If a piece of that plaque breaks off, it can travel to your brain and cause a stroke. But there's more. The high temperatures used in frying create compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These compounds increase inflammation throughout your body, including in your blood vessels. Inflammation damages the lining of your arteries, making them more prone to clots. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that people who regularly ate fried foods had a 41% higher risk of stroke compared to those who rarely ate fried foods. Vegetable number 4. Frozen vegetables with added sauces. Now, frozen vegetables are usually a good choice. They're picked at peak ripeness and frozen quickly, which preserves their nutrients. But here's where things go wrong. Many frozen vegetable products come with added sauces, butter, or seasonings. These additions turn a healthy vegetable into a sodium and fat delivery system. A bag of frozen broccoli with cheese sauce can contain over 600 milligrams of sodium per serving. Frozen vegetables in butter sauce, you're looking at added saturated fat that your arteries definitely don't need. And the worst part is that these products are marketed as healthy and convenient. People buy them thinking they're making a good choice, not realizing they're essentially eating vegetables that have been transformed into processed foods. And the other issue with these products is portion distortion. The serving size on the package is often much smaller than what people actually eat. So if the label says 400 milligrams of sodium per serving and you eat the whole bag thinking it's healthy because it's vegetables, you might actually be consuming 1,200 milligrams or more. Vegetable number 5, beets. For some people. Now, this one is controversial because beets are often promoted as a superfood, and for most people, they are incredibly healthy. Beets contain nitrates that your body converts to nitric oxide, which helps dilate blood vessels and can actually lower blood pressure. So what's the problem? If you're taking certain medications, particularly nitrate medications for heart conditions like angina, eating beets can be dangerous. The combination can cause your blood pressure to drop too low, which can lead to dizziness, fainting, and in severe cases, can trigger a stroke due to inadequate blood flow to the brain. Additionally, some people have a condition where they metabolize nitrates differently, and for them, the high nitrate content in beets can actually increase the risk of blood clots.
There's also concern for people with kidney disease. Beets are high in oxalates, compounds that can contribute to kidney stones. For people with kidney problems, this is particularly dangerous because kidney disease is a major risk factor for stroke. When your kidneys aren't functioning properly, it affects your blood pressure regulation and increases inflammation throughout your body, including in your blood vessels. If you're on heart medications or have kidney disease, talk to your doctor before eating beets regularly. For everyone else, beets in moderation are generally fine, but this shows how even healthy vegetables can be problematic for certain people. Vegetable number 6, potatoes, especially certain preparations. Potatoes often get a bad rap, but they're actually nutritious when prepared correctly. The problem is that they're rarely prepared correctly. French fries, hash browns, potato chips, loaded baked potatoes with butter and sour cream. These are the ways most people eat potatoes. And these preparations are stroke risk factors waiting to happen. Let's talk about French fries specifically. A large order of fast food French fries contains about 500 calories, 25 grams of fat, and nearly 400 milligrams of sodium. But it's not just about the numbers. The high glycemic index of fried potatoes causes rapid spikes in blood sugar. Over time, these blood sugar spikes contribute to insulin resistance and diabetes, which more than doubles your stroke risk. There's also something called acrylamide to worry about. When potatoes are cooked at high temperatures, especially frying or roasting above 250 degrees Fahrenheit, they form acrylamide, a chemical compound that studies have linked to increased cardiovascular disease risk and potential cancer risk. The darker and crispier the potato, the more acrylamide it contains. Even mashed potatoes can be problematic if they're loaded with butter, cream, and salt. A typical restaurant serving of mashed potatoes can contain over 300 calories and 800 milligrams of sodium. And let's be honest, who stops at one serving? The solution isn't to avoid potatoes entirely. Boiled or baked potatoes, without excessive toppings, especially with the skin on, can be part of a healthy diet. But the fried, processed, and heavily salted versions that are most common, those need to go. Vegetable number 7, corn, in certain forms. Corn is another vegetable that's healthy in its natural state, but becomes problematic in the forms most people consume it. Fresh corn on the cob? Generally fine. But most people eat corn as corn chips, in high fructose corn syrup, or as processed corn products loaded with salt and fat. Corn chips are a particular problem. A single ounce of corn chips, that's about 10 to 15 chips, contains around 150 milligrams of sodium and 10 grams of fat. But who eats just 1 ounce? Most people eat multiple servings in one sitting, especially with salsa or dip. You can easily consume 500 milligrams of sodium or more from corn chips alone. Then there's the issue of corn's effect on blood sugar. Corn is a starchy vegetable with a relatively high glycemic index. When you eat a lot of corn, especially in processed forms, it can cause blood sugar spikes similar to eating refined carbohydrates. This is particularly problematic for people with diabetes or pre-diabetes, conditions that significantly increase stroke risk. And we can't ignore high fructose corn syrup, which is derived from corn and is in countless processed foods. High fructose corn syrup consumption has been directly linked to increased blood pressure, increased triglycerides, and increased inflammation, all major stroke risk factors. Vegetable number 8, celery, for people on blood thinners. This one catches people completely off guard. Celery is considered one of the healthiest vegetables you can eat. It's low in calories, high in fiber, and contains compounds that can help lower blood pressure. So what's the issue? Celery is extremely high in natural sodium compared to other vegetables. One medium stalk contains about 32 milligrams of sodium, which doesn't sound like much until you realize that people often eat celery by the bunch, especially when juicing. A glass of celery juice can contain over 200 milligrams of sodium. For people who are sodium sensitive or trying to manage high blood pressure, this can be a problem. But the bigger issue is for people taking blood-thinning medications like warfarin. Celery contains compounds called phthalates that can interfere with blood clotting. While this might sound beneficial, when combined with blood-thinning medications, it can increase the risk of bleeding, including bleeding in the brain, which is a type of stroke called hemorrhagic stroke. Additionally, celery contains high amounts of vitamin K, which can interfere with warfarin's effectiveness, potentially leading to dangerous fluctuations in how well your blood clots. This creates an unpredictable situation where your stroke risk can actually increase. If you're on blood thinners, you don't necessarily have to avoid celery completely, but you need to be consistent in how much you eat and discuss it with your doctor. Vegetable number 9, spinach and other leafy greens for specific people. Last but definitely not least, we have spinach and other leafy greens like kale and Swiss chard. These are nutritional powerhouses for most people, packed with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. But for certain groups of people, they can be problematic. The main issue is vitamin K content. Dark leafy greens are extremely high in vitamin K, with 1 cup of cooked spinach containing over 800 micrograms. That's 10 times the daily recommended amount. For people taking blood thinners like warfarin, this is a major concern. Vitamin K promotes blood clotting, which directly opposes what the medication is trying to do. Eating large amounts of vitamin K-rich vegetables can make blood thinners less effective, increasing the risk of clots and stroke. There's also a concern with oxalates. Spinach is one of the highest oxalate vegetables, with 1 cup of cooked spinach containing over 750 milligrams of oxalates. For people prone to kidney stones or with existing kidney disease, high oxalate intake can worsen kidney function. And as I mentioned earlier, kidney disease significantly increases stroke risk. There's also a concern with raw spinach specifically. Raw spinach can harbor bacteria if not washed properly, and it contains compounds that can interfere with calcium absorption. While this doesn't directly cause strokes, it can contribute to overall health issues that indirectly increase risk. The key here is understanding your personal health situation. If you're on blood thinners, you don't have to eliminate leafy greens, but you need to eat consistent amounts so your doctor can properly adjust your medication dosage. So let's summarize what we've learned. The 9 vegetables that can increase your stroke risk overnight are pickled vegetables, canned vegetables with added salt, fried vegetables, frozen vegetables with added sauces, beets for people on certain medications, potatoes in unhealthy preparations, corn and processed forms, celery for people on blood thinners, and leafy greens for specific individuals. The important thing to understand is that this isn't about avoiding vegetables altogether. Vegetables are still some of the healthiest foods you can eat. This is about being aware of how vegetables are prepared, what's added to them, and how they might interact with your specific health conditions or medications. Fresh, properly prepared vegetables are almost always going to be your best choice. Here's what you should do starting today. First, read labels carefully when buying any packaged or processed vegetable products. Look for sodium content, added fats, and unnecessary ingredients. Second, choose fresh or frozen vegetables over canned whenever possible. Third, learn to prepare vegetables in healthy ways, steaming, roasting without excessive oil, or eating them raw when appropriate. Fourth, talk to your doctor about whether any vegetables might be problematic given your specific medications or health conditions. And fifth, remember that moderation and variety are key. Don't eat the same vegetables prepared the same way every single day. Your health is in your hands, and small changes in how you choose and prepare vegetables can make a massive difference in your stroke risk. The power to protect yourself starts with knowledge, and now you have it. Subscribe for more health tips that could save your life.